Okay, so I'm going for an avocado, and specifically one. It'll be rotten by
very
now.
Belsize Park.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. It's actually Wembley Park.
Okay.
Because so one of the things I think people assume maybe about my family is that they would assume Jewish family, and very Jewish and whatever. And in some ways we were, in lots of ways we weren't. But that one thing they might assume, therefore, is like, lots of fabulous food, like chicken soup and chopped liver or whatever. My mum was a fucking terrible cook. Unbelievable. She did gesture towards Jewish food by putting an enormous vat of water on the hob and throwing maybe a claw of chicken into it and some barley, I remember. And she'd serve that up and she'd call that chicken soup. And occasionally we'd have roasts that were the hardest things. I mean, literally like leathery. And I didn't really know any different when I was growing up. I just thought,
that's what you eat, yeah.
That's what I eat.
Yeah,
I think I knew that this was horrible.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Also, where I went to primary school, the food was also horrible. It was kosher food, and kosher means you're not allowed to have milk after meat. So for puddings, we would have custard made with water.
Yeah.
And to try and make that more exciting for children, they would dye it blue. So I would have to have blue custard when I was young. And I remember telling that to my daughter. And my daughter once said, poor daddy, he had to have the kosher blue custard. And I wanted to have that on my gravestone for a while. Anyway, when I was about 13 or 14, a mate of mine who is in a band called The Sundays, called Dave Gavrin, he was probably my oldest mate. I was at his house in Wembley Park, and he had a nicer house than mine, and his parents were much more normal than mine, and I slightly envied his whole being then. Yeah. And he got something out of the fruit bowl that was green, and I'd never seen one before.
How old were you?
13 or 14.
Yeah.
I'd literally never seen one, but remember this is like 1977. And I said, what's that? He said, it's an avocado. And I said, oh, right. And he opens it, and I think, right, some kind of fruit, whatever. And he gives me a bit. And you know that bit in Ratatouille where Antoine Ego eats the ratatouille and has a huge epiphany, is returned to childhood, and nothing is the same ever. It was a bit like that. I couldn't be returned to childhood because I was a child. But I didn't realise that there was that food could taste like this.
Yeah.
It was so unbelievable. And my lust for Dave Gavrin's life sort of tripled at that point. I thought, not only does he have a nicer house with more normal parents, and he lives in Wembley Park, which is nicer than Dollis Hill.
He's eating healthy fats.
He's eating lovely food. I didn't think of it as healthy fats then. That's a very later idea. But it was delicious. I don't know if you like avocado.
I love it.
I still like avocados, but I associate them with the moment that I realised there was a world beyond.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think the first time I had an avocado, I reckon, blimey, I think it was when I was, 25, probably, something like that. It was very late on. But it's those, when you have those moments. I remember eating sushi for the first time in New Zealand with Ross Noble.
Yeah.
And having my hand held through this sort of culinary journey by a hero of mine.
Yeah.
It was just wildly exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's when you have a food that will then go on to become a staple of your life for the first time.
Yes.
It's just the greatest.
Yeah, but also I think avocado is an interesting food as well, because it's a fruit, but yet not entirely, doesn't taste exactly like fruit. In fact, I remember Dave saying to me, you can have it with lemon and sugar as well, which I don't think you can.
No.
But in the 70s, that was a thing you probably could do.
Yeah.
You could all have anything with lemon and sugar.
Yeah.
But it's also like, its texture is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's sort of halfway between a vegetable and a fruit and something completely planetary else.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like the sort of veggie fruit equivalent of a Jaffa cake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It exists in two worlds.
It does exist in two worlds, yeah. And the texture of it is incredible.
And there's no telling. When you're in a supermarket, you just can't guess whether it's
ripe or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. No idea. And in fact, they're often packaged to say they're ripe, and they're fucking not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could probably only feel 3 of them before you have to just get one.
Well,
Because if you touch every one, then you just, do you know what I mean? It's just
have you had that experience? I have had that experience thinking,
I'm like to say, I give it about 3 squeezes.
I think the top side.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little side. But you can't really tell. And also, a part of me is thinking, am I ruining the fruit here?
Yes.
As I'm testing it, is someone over there thinking, I'm not going to have that bit now, that avocado, because Baddiel's probably bruised it inside, right?
So you an avocado on toast guy? Do your kids have it?
I think because of that moment, although I like avocado on toast in the modern hipster way, and I like avocado in salad, I still think the archetype for me is the old-fashioned avocado vinaigrette, i.e., you just cut it in half and you have it with a bit of oil and vinegar and the pure thing itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had that. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, that's the original.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you just inside. You take the stone out.
Yeah.
It's become a cookery show, and inside the hole, which is perfectly shaped for it, you make some oil and vinegar, a bit of salt, and you just scoop it out and you have it like that.
Oh, nice.
It's very nice. Yeah, that used to be quite a big sort of posh hors d'oeuvre in the 70s and 80s.
But you got a real thing for breakfast.
I got a real thing for breakfast.
Because you're regularly kind of like...
Well, I've stopped doing it now.
No, but there was a period where on Instagram... That I would be looking at photos of you. I was like, he's going to give himself gout.
Well,
like
and a heart attack or whatever. Well, it was one of those weird things. I don't know if you've ever found this with like you're doing some material and then the material means that you can't change your life because of it. So when I first started out doing comedy, I had very big hair. Right, massive, great big Robert Smith the Q, and I used to do jokes about it, and then it became completely unfashionable. And I thought, well, but I'm still doing the jokes, so I can't get a haircut.
Yeah.
Right, similarly, on Instagram or Twitter, I think I started. It was meant to be a comment on if you tour in Britain and you're staying at quite nice hotels, this is what's on offer: a full English breakfast.
Yeah.
If you're staying at a Marriott, it'll be on offer in what's called a bain marie. It'll be on offer in those trays. It's there as soon as you come down. And I do not have the willpower to turn down a sausage and eggs and beans when it's there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do, but I don't.
You know,
and so every morning...
I would never have a hotel breakfast. They're disgusting.
See, I love them. I remember once thinking, you know what? I don't like posh sausages. What I want from a sausage, you know, a sausage that's got loads of meat in it, which is like a posh sausage.
Yeah, like a farmer's. There are, don't they?
Yeah, no, but they'll curl up when you fry them.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want it to be flat. I want it to have so much rusk and bread in it that it's just flat in the pan.
So you don't want your sausages smiling?
No, I don't want my sausages smiling, even though that's the cartoon idea.
Yeah.
I want them to be old-fashioned,
Very
mainly...
British, stiff upper lip.
Yeah, very stiff upper
I
lip.
like that.
That's brilliant.
Very neat.
Yeah. So that's what I want. Anyway, I did do a thing of saying, essentially I was trying to say, this is a problem for me. I'm on tour.
Yeah.
I cannot resist this type of food. It's available every morning at every hotel.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill myself. But then what I noticed is when I put it on
because of the because of the breakfast.
Yeah, it's not my fault.
It felt
it's
like
not my fault. Yeah.
No, but it felt like there was a suicidal thing on top of that.
No.
Like I can't do this.
No, I'm going to kill myself. And by the way, I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to kill myself from eating this shit every morning.
Yeah.
But then there was the thing. It turned out, I didn't know this, but on social media, if you put a picture of a full English breakfast, the full English breakfast police, I mean, obviously anything you say on social media will be policed.
Yeah.
Will come in and say, the beans are touching the eggs,
right.
Or, you know, those tomatoes, they're terrible, or whatever.
It's so interesting, that kind of thing, isn't it? Because, like, it's when you start talking about, like, breakfast or crisps or all these little things, like, people come alive in their passion for the insignificant.
Yeah, to some extent, I think it's because when you touch on something like that, people think, oh, I can find a way of sort of...
Maybe it's safe hate.
Yes, it's safe hate. It's such a brilliant phrase.
But you can kind of just play around in it, and it doesn't. You can be as full on as you like.
Yes, it's right. Although some people do get genuinely quite angry. There are some people who like those sausages are awful, Baddiel. What are you thinking about?
I mean, I love that though. I remember seeing there was an article, Kerry Katona, and she was moving out of her house, and she had. She put a cupboard in the back of her car, and the boot wouldn't shut. Right, that was the story. Right, and somebody put in capital letters on one of the comments, for fuck's sake, which was asterisk out, why haven't you hired a van? It was like, you know, when you're like, wow.
You know, it is amazing what people will get angry about.
Yeah, man.